Got a couple of requests for this one. I had been looking into it, and we've discussed a little bit of this before. I've been covering some of the examples of it being either completely uncovered, that the books are being cooked, some of these numbers are being inflated, they're under question, they're not as clear cut as a lot of people pretend. And I've also done some videos, such as, off the top of my head, the one in Toronto where the actual health department straight up admitted, and said that they are including people in these COVID-19 numbers, even if they didn't die from it, in terms of their deaths, even if they didn't confirm to be dead from the virus, which is bizarre when you consider the fact that they know, they have to be completely aware that people are paying a lot of attention to the numbers. All they're caring about now is cases, sometimes the deaths. It depends on what time of the day. The goalpost continues to move, flatten the curve, stop all the spread altogether. What I don't really know where they're at with it these days, but they do continue to change it. Nonetheless, we have confirmation that numbers are being cooked. And then when you put that in the, like, for example, some of the tests, some of the antibody tests that they do include in the positive cases, the count, that is, they do include those. Not all of them are clear cut, and they will sometimes come positive if you just had another coronavirus in your system, such as the common cold. Again, that's right on the CDC's website. You can check that out. We've covered it on this channel. So some of the failed tests, but not even just that. It's one of those things that when you include, this is why it's important to not just pay attention to one thing, but pay attention to multiple things. When you include all of that in combination, some of the things that I just mentioned and some of the things that I didn't mention, it is not up for dispute that the numbers are at least being cooked to the degree that we have no idea how many people have actually been tested positive for it individually. And do those cases, those case counts actually, is that sort of replicating that? Some people test, like if they tested again and tested positive, they're included twice. Some of those things, like weird things like that. So does it represent per individual? And do the deaths, obviously, which I think a lot of people are arguing, are the deaths from COVID-19 at all? Because now they're including a lot of, definitely with the cases, they're including these probable cases, which are people that have never been tested at all. It's just, well, we knew this person had been near all of these other people, so we're assuming that they have the virus. These are things that, again, these are not, don't take my word for anything. This is stuff per CDC and local officials that are confirming this. So when you take a look at all of that, the reality is we have no idea who exactly has been affected with COVID-19 in terms of the number of people that have had it. And when you look at the case counts, and we certainly don't know if all people that have been considered a COVID-19 death actually died from it. And when you build policy, and this is why it's so dangerous for these numbers to not be accurate, because they're building policy that impacts people's lives. When you talk about lockdowns and whatnot, those are things that hurt individuals and their livelihoods, and they're building policy around those numbers. And we keep hearing about the people that actually go undercover and looking. I'm not just accepting it for what it is. People that are, going undercover, reading the fine print. They're uncovering things that really are weird in terms of nobody's really talking about this, not certainly in the mainstream. This came out today, more so yesterday. Fox 35 investigates Florida Department of Health, says some labs have not reported negative COVID-19 cases. After Fox 35 News noticed errors in the state's report on positivity rates, the Florida Department of Health said that some laboratories have not been reporting negative test result data to the state. Countless labs have reported 100% positivity rate, meaning that everybody that got that test tested positive for COVID-19, which doesn't seem likely, which means every single person tests positive. Oh, they just said what I just said. Other labs had very high positivity rates. Fox 35 News found that testing sites like one local center care reported that 83 people were tested and all tested positive. Then NCF Diagnostics in Alachua reported 88% of tests were positive. How could that be? Fox 35 News investigated these astronomical numbers, contacting every local location mentioned in the report. And this is why it's important. This is actually decent journalism being done for once. It's actually decent journalism being done for once, because that's what journalism is. You see this and you're like, wait a minute. Let's actually confirm. Let's not just take the state's word for it. Let's actually look into these numbers. And Florida has been in the conversation, as well as Texas, where I'm at, because of these growing numbers. So I think it's worth looking into. And that's what they did. The report showed that Orlando Health had a 93% positivity rate. However, when Fox 35 News contacted the hospital, they confirmed errors in the report. Essentially, they got caught. So imagine if there was no investigation and we were just like, yeah, it's just bad out there. They confirmed errors in the report. Orlando's health positivity rate is only 9.4, not 98%. So you think maybe is it a typing error or something like that? 9.4 is not 98. Those are completely different numbers, but they would drastically affect the combined numbers when you look at positivity rates, number of cases, what have you. The report also showed that the Orlando Veterans Medical Center had a positivity rate of 76%. A spokesperson for the VA told Fox 35 News on Tuesday that this does not reflect their numbers, and the positivity rate for the center is actually 6%. So they just added a 7 in front of the 6, and here we are. Fox 35 News went on to speak to Florida Department of Health Tuesday. They confirmed that although private and public laboratories are required to report positive and negative results to the state immediately, some have not. Specifically, they said that some smaller private labs were not reporting negative test result data to the state. So they weren't even giving the results to the state, which is interesting. The department immediately began working with those labs to ensure that all results were being reported in order to provide a comprehensive and transparent data. Spokesperson for the Florida Department of Health said as the state continues to receive results from various labs, the department will continue educating these labs on proper protocol for reporting COVID-19. Look, this is interesting. Mainly because this is how I think. What the hell else is being cooked? What other reports done by local laboratories, local hospitals, and as they send these numbers, and these numbers, of course, get reported to us, and they're plastered all over mainstream social media. How much of these are actually legitimate? Because it took them going undercover to say, wait a minute, this 94%, that's a very high rate. This is almost like nobody questions it. And somebody did, and then they uncovered that, okay, yeah, a lot of these guys aren't reporting. Not only are they not reporting accurate results, the negative results, which would absolutely, the reason why those are important, that they are included in the numbers, because when you guys start talking positivity rates, that's important. Because if there's a bunch of negative results, it's going to bring that positive rate down. So in order for you to get a full scale of what's going on, you need accurate data. The data does not seem to be accurate. And it wasn't just like it was one or two. Countless, like they even said, and I quote, countless labs. As in, like, these are the ones we talked about. They talked about in the article, but there's probably other ones. So when you take that into consideration, again, I don't care where you're at on the side of the mask or on the side of of COVID-19 and how the government should be handling it. We can confirm that the data is not accurate. We've seen it. I think we've seen enough evidence to see that when the numbers that you guys hear, when you look it up, coronavirus Texas, coronavirus Florida, coronavirus this, those numbers, how accurate they are, don't know. But they're not, we certainly know they're not 100% accurate. So again, it's about context. It's about taking a look at the other videos of the examples of we see books are being cooked. They're admitting it. They're telling you. But it gets lost when we talk about all of these numbers rising cases. It's important for the data to be accurate. And if you even are doom and gloomer, you should want to pay attention to that because that gives you perspective. Accurate data gives you perspective. It doesn't matter if it's on anything. It doesn't matter. If you're going to try to build policy around it, we got to understand the scale of what's going on. And you can't understand that by having inaccurate data. That's not okay. There's a problem there. We have this pandemic going on and data is inaccurate. And that's all everybody care about is the numbers, positive cases, as we test unlike we have for any other virus in recent history as much. Well, I will tell you this, certainly the reaction is unlike nothing that we've done in modern history. And in terms of these bandwagon lockdowns by country to country, there's a problem here, guys. And it doesn't get resolved. It doesn't get resolved until people actually do some actual journalism and go look stuff up like this. I doubt that you're going to see a lot of this. If journalists did their jobs, you'd see more of this. But I doubt they're going to even be incentivized to do it because a lot of them are in on it. And they're in on a doom and gloom. Shut up, wear a mask, lock down, stay home, save lives, yada, yada, yada. And the perspective does not seem to make a whole lot of sense. Data's inaccurate. They're telling you that just because we consider it a COVID-19 death doesn't mean that we confirmed and tested that person positive and we know that person had COVID-19 and that COVID-19 virus caused complications would end up killing them. We don't even know. I have never once said that the virus was fake. Never once. I believe that it's a real thing. However, I do certainly believe that the reaction has been a crazy overreaction. And I think when people put on their tinfoil hats, what they're trying to do is find a reason from that. Because you look at the survival rate. Not the confirmed cases. Always some idiot in the comment section. When I say it has an over 99% survival rate, these weirdos go grab the confirmed cases that they get that we know are inaccurate, the confirmed cases and the confirmed deaths, and do some division. And they be like, well, here we go. That's actually not right. It's actually this percent, you idiot. No, and under no circumstance, that's certainly anti-science. The guys that tell you to trust the science are doing things that are anti-science. They do not find infected fatality rates for generally any other disease or virus, not the flu, not anything else, by simply going to confirmed cases and confirmed like deaths or something like that. It's not how you find the more like an infected fatality rate, trying to understand how deadly this virus actually is. When you know that most people that get it are never going to need to go to the hospital. They're never going to die from it. So the only way to know if they ever had it is to have some of these antibody tests. This is the point of those antibody tests, to try to figure out what we're working with. And the survival rate in this regards, depending on how much you believe the numbers, but the survival rate in virtually every single country that are doing these types of studies are well under 1%. I mean, excuse me. Well, the fatality rate is well under 1%. The survival rate is well over 99, or not well over, let's say almost 100%. People are going to die. And people are dying. So none of us are getting out on the other side of this alive. It's what happens, and it's a very unfortunate thing when it happens to someone that you know and love. However, we don't have true perspective here because the numbers are being cooked, and you better start acknowledging it. Certainly, if you're gonna try to preach doom and gloom.